Good morning. It's Friday, March 22nd. Beautiful day out here in Anza. This morning, I was reading 2 Kings 18 through 21. And the verse I wanted to share on was chapter 19 of 2 Kings, verse 27. 19:27. That I know you're sitting down and you're going out. You're coming in and you're raging against me. I'm going to read that again. But I know you're sitting down and you're going out and you're coming in and you're raging against me. Here the Lord is speaking. He's speaking through the prophet Isaiah. And he's talking about the king of Assyria. Hezekiah, when he became king, he really followed the Lord. He got rid of all the idol worshiping. He got rid of the place, what they call the high places, where the people would go and they'd worship other gods. And he brought the people of Israel back to worshiping the one and true and living God. And then the king of Assyria came down, and he was just basically wiping everybody out. It became a great empire. And so he came and he wanted King Hezekiah to surrender to him. Hezekiah wouldn't do it. So he would send his soldiers to the walls of the city of Jerusalem. And the men would be up on the walls, the soldiers. And his messengers would taunt them. They'd say, hey, don't believe that your God's going to save you. Who is he? What gods have saved any of the other countries from Assyria? And they just brag about how powerful Assyria was. And they would mock the God of the Hebrews. They would mock the living God, the true God. And they would say that he's nothing, and there's no way that he would defend them. And so they would tell the soldiers, come down and join us. Come join us against your own king, against your own country. And you'll live. But we're going to come and destroy this place. And don't believe your king, Hezekiah, when he says that God will protect you. So his armies came. And Hezekiah sought the Lord. And the Lord sent Isaiah to speak to him. And Isaiah told him that he was going to defend Israel. And he told him that Israel wouldn't have to do anything. That he was going to go into their camp and slay many of the soldiers. And the next day, the king of Syria would turn around and go home. And then that he would die in his own country. That's exactly what happened. The angel of the Lord came down and killed 185,000 Assyrians in one night. Those who were left woke up the next morning. The king got scared and he took off and went home. In a short period of time, when he was in his own palace, his own sons came and killed him so that one of them might take his throne. So that's what it's talking about here. God's saying, hey, he's saying to the king of Assyria, I have heard your mocking of who I am, and I've heard your threats to my people. Remember when Jesus went into the temple? God is a loving God. God is a kind God. God gave his life on the cross that we might be forgiven, that we might live free, that we might live in fellowship with him. But the same Jesus that gave his life and receives anyone who will come to him, anyone that will receive life from him. The same Jesus that went to the woman at the well and shared with her that if she would, he had water that he wanted to give her that would never run out, living water, that he had a plan for her life. The same Jesus that looked at the woman that they drugged before him, that the religious leaders drugged before him, and said, hey, we caught this woman in adultery. What should we do? And he said, well, let the first guy who is sinless, those without sin, let him throw the first stone. And they all left. And Jesus said he didn't condemn her either. And he set her free to go. He said, sin no more. He showed compassion and mercy. Same Jesus that hung on that cross and was butchered on your behalf and my behalf. He's the same Jesus that when he went to the temple and he saw how the people were ripped off and the money changers were stealing from the people and they were forcing them to pay high prices to try to sacrifice their own lambs. They'd bring them and say, no, your lambs aren't good enough. You got to buy our lambs. And they had special temple money. You got to trade your money in for ours. And they gave them less than what their money was worth. They were making money off the fact that the people knew they were sinners that needed to be forgiven, and they were selling them forgiveness. And Jesus came and he got a whip. He turned over the tables and he chased them all out. Same Jesus that knows how to show compassion and mercy and love towards the broken. He doesn't have a lot of mercy for those who come against his people. He stands up for his people. The Bible says God will not be mocked. So those of us that love Jesus, those of us that try to follow Jesus, those of us that are trying to allow him to transform our lives, when we have enemies that come against us, they are in a dangerous place. That's why the Bible says pray for your enemies, because they're in a very dangerous place. And if you happen to be somebody that's just watching this YouTube today that enjoys mocking God, you might be mocking me right now. God knows your mocks. He knows your threats against his people. He says, but I know you're sitting down. I know when you sit down. I know when you come and when you go. When you're going out, when you're coming in. In other words, what he's saying to that king of Assyria, I watch you all the time. I see you. I see your mockery. And I see your attacks and threats upon my people. And I hear your raging against me. God sees what they do, and he hears what they do. And he will not be mocked. It's a dangerous place. For those that follow Jesus, that have been threatened, we don't need to have no fear. But for those who threaten his people and mock him, just know that God will not be mocked. It's a frightening thing to those who want to mock God and attack his people. It's a very comforting thing if you know Jesus and love Jesus, because you know that we will be protected and defended. Someday we'll go see him face to face. So even if that happens by someone's threats, you'll see him face to face. You'll be with him. But God will bring judgment on those who do such things. Thanks for listening to me today.